Imagine walking into an empty room. The silence wraps around you like a blanket, and in that moment, your heart begins to race. Your mind floods with an urge to reach for your phone, to turn on the TV, to do anything to fill that. That instinctive reaction, that fear of being alone with yourself, how many of you have felt it? That's exactly what we're here to explore today, because within that very discomfort lies the seed of your greatest transformation. You see, in our hyperconnected world, we've somehow lost the art of being alone. We've forgotten that solitude isn't the same as loneliness. We've convinced ourselves that constant connection equals happiness, that being alone means being left behind. But what if I told you that your moments of solitude could become your most profound source of joy? I remember sitting in a cabin in the mountains, no cell service, no internet, just the sound of wind through the trees and my own thoughts for company. At first, it felt like torture. The silence was deafening. My mind wouldn't stop racing. But as hours turned into days, something magical began to happen. The very silence that had terrified me became a gateway to understanding myself in ways I never had before. That's what we're going to discover together today. How to transform our relationship with solitude from one of fear to one of profound joy and discovery. This isn't about becoming a hermit or pushing away meaningful connections. It's about finding that sacred balance where being alone becomes a choice we embrace rather than a circumstance we fear. Think about the last time you were truly alone. Not alone with Netflix playing in the background, not alone while scrolling through social media, but truly, deeply alone with yourself. For many of us, the thought alone creates anxiety. Why? Because somewhere along the way, we've lost touch with our own company. In our modern world, we're constantly bombarded with noise. The ping of notifications, the endless stream of news, the continuous chatter of social media. It's as if we're afraid to hear our own thoughts. We've become so accustomed to external validation and continuous connection that the very idea of spending time alone feels like a punishment rather than an opportunity. But here's the truth that changed my life, and I believe it can change yours too. The quality of your relationship with yourself determines the quality of every other relationship in your life. When you learn to find joy in solitude, you bring a fuller, more authentic version of yourself to every interaction, every relationship, every moment of your life. Let me share something profound with you. During my time working with people from all walks of life, I've noticed a fascinating pattern. Those who are most comfortable in their own company often have the most meaningful connections with others. It's paradoxical, isn't it? The more at peace you are with solitude, the richer your relationships become. This journey we're embarking on today isn't just about learning to be alone. It's about discovering the incredible potential that lies within those moments of solitude. It's about understanding that being alone doesn't mean being lonely, that silence doesn't mean emptiness, and that solitude can be our greatest teacher. Think about a tree standing alone in a field. Does it struggle with its solitude? Does it frantically try to fill every moment with noise and distraction? No. It grows stronger, its roots grow deeper, and in its solitude, it becomes more majestic. That's the kind of relationship with solitude we're going to cultivate together. The path we're about to explore has transformed countless lives, including my own. It's not about dramatic changes or forcing yourself into isolation. Instead, it's about gentle shifts in perspective, small daily practices that gradually transform your relationship with solitude from one of fear to one of joy. What we often don't realize is that our fear of being alone is really a fear of facing ourselves. We become experts at avoiding our own company, filling every moment with distractions to escape the discomfort of our own thoughts. But what if those very thoughts were running from hold the keys to our deepest fulfillment? I want you to think about something for a moment. When was the last time you felt truly at peace? Chances are it wasn't in the middle of a crowded room or while juggling multiple conversations. Most likely it was in a moment of quiet, a brief respite from the chaos of daily life. Those moments aren't accidents. They're glimpses of what's possible when we embrace solitude. The journey we're beginning to is both simple and profound. It's about rediscovering something we were born knowing but somehow forgot along the way. How to be comfortable in our own presence. It's about learning to distinguish between loneliness, which depletes us, and solitude, which enriched every great insight, every moment of clarity, every significant breakthrough in human history came from someone's moment of solitude. The greatest artists, thinkers, and innovators throughout history have all understood the power of solitude. They knew that true creativity and deep understanding emerge, not from constant connection, but from moments of quiet reflection. But this isn't just about great achievements or profound discoveries. It's about the simple joy of being at peace with yourself. It's about walking into an empty room and feeling not dread, but possibility. It's about turning off your phone and feeling not anxiety, but relief. It's about transforming those moments of being alone from something we endure into something we cherish. As we continue this journey together, I want you to keep one thing in mind. This transformation doesn't happen overnight. Just like any meaningful change, it happens gradually, one small choice at a time. The key is to approach it with curiosity rather than judgment, with openness rather than resistance. Think of your relationship with solitude as a garden. Right now, it might be overgrown with weeds of fear and anxiety, or perhaps it's a barren space you've avoided tending. Our work together is about clearing that space, planting seeds of self-discovery, and nurturing them with patience and understanding. The beauty of this journey is that it's entirely personal. No one else can walk this path for you, and your experience will be uniquely your own. That's not something to fear. It's something to celebrate. Because in discovering how to be alone, you're really discovering how to be yourself fully and completely. What we're going to explore together isn't just a set of techniques or strategies. It's a fundamental shift in how we view ourselves and our relationship with solitude. It's about moving from resistance to acceptance, from fear to curiosity, from avoidance to embrace. Now let's delve deeper into understanding why our relationship with solitude matters so profoundly. In our society, we've created an interesting paradox. We're more connected than ever before, yet somehow we feel more disconnected from ourselves. We can video chat with someone on the other side of the world, but we struggle to sit quietly with our own thoughts for 5 minutes. This disconnect from ourselves manifests in countless ways. We feel anxious when our phone isn't within reach. We panic at the thought of a quiet evening alone. We fill our calendars to the brim, not because we want to, but because we're afraid of what might happen in those empty spaces. The moment you begin to embrace solitude, something extraordinary starts to happen. Your intuition becomes sharper. Your creativity flows more freely. Your decisions become clearer. It's as if turning down the volume of the world allows you to finally hear the wisdom of your own heart. Think about water for a moment. When water is turbulent, stirred up by winds and waves, it's impossible to see through it. But when water becomes still, it becomes crystal clear. You can see straight to the bottom. Our minds work the same way. In solitude, when the waters of our thoughts become still, we can see with remarkable clarity. One of the most powerful shifts happens when we stop viewing solitude as something we need to fill and start seeing it as something that fills us. This isn't just philosophical wordplay. It's a fundamental change in how we approach our relationship with ourselves. Every relationship you have with others is filtered through your relationship with yourself. If you can't sit with your own thoughts, how can you truly be present with someone else's? If you can't find peace in your own company, how can you bring peace to your interactions with others? The truth is, learning to love solitude isn't about becoming antisocial or withdrawing from the world. It's about building a foundation of inner strength that makes all your connections more meaningful. It's about becoming so complete in yourself that you no longer need others to fill your empty spaces. Instead, you can choose to share your fullness with. This brings us to a crucial understanding, like the quality of your solitude determines the quality of your life. When you're comfortable being alone, you make better choices. You're less likely to stay in unhealthy relationships out of fear of being alone. You're less likely to compromise your values for the sake of fitting in. You become more authentic, more genuine, more truly yourself. I've seen people transform their lives completely once they understood this truth. They stopped treating solitude like an enemy to be avoided and started treating it like a friend to be welcomed. And in that shift, everything changed. Their anxiety decreased. Their creativity blossomed. Their relationships deepened. Not because they were trying to make these things happen, but because they were finally giving themselves the space to be who they truly are. Let's talk about what happens in those moments of solitude when we finally stop running. First, yes, you might encounter some uncomfortable thoughts and feelings. That's normal. These aren't your enemies. They're parts of yourself asking to be heard. In solitude, we finally give them the attention they deserve. Think of it like cleaning out an attic. At first, it might seem overwhelming. There's dust, there are cobwebs, there are boxes you haven't opened in years. But as you begin to sort through everything, you find treasures you forgot you had. You create space. You bring order to chaos. This is what happens when we embrace solitude. We begin to sort through the cluttered attic of our minds. The most beautiful part of this journey is discovering that what we thought we needed to run from was actually what we needed to run toward. Those quiet moments we feared become the very moments we look forward to most. The silence we tried to fill becomes the silence that fills us. In our modern world, we often treat busyness like a badge of honor. We pride ourselves on how full our schedules are, how many messages we receive, how many meetings we attend, but what if the real achievement isn't in how much we can do, but in how deeply we can be? What if success isn't measured by our external achievements, but by our ability to find peace in our own company? This isn't about rejecting the world or disconnecting from others. It's about finding the right balance. Think of it like breathing. We need both inhale and exhale. Solitude is the inhale, the moment of taking in, of replenishing ourselves. Connection with others is the exhale, the sharing of ourselves with the world. We need both to live. The path to loving solitude begins with small steps. It starts with turning off your phone for just 5 minutes and sitting with yourself. It begins with taking a walk alone without your earbuds. It starts with having a meal in silence, really tasting your food, really being present in the moment. These might seem like simple actions, but they're revolutionary in a world that never stops moving, never stops talking, never stops demanding our attention. Each moment of chosen solitude is an act of self-love, a declaration that your relationship with yourself matters. What we're really talking about here is freedom. The freedom to be comfortable in your own skin, the freedom to enjoy your own company, the freedom to find peace without depending on external stimulation. This is true independence, and it's available to every single one of us. When you learn to love solitude, you develop what I call an inner sanctuary, a place within yourself where you can always find peace regardless of what's happening in the external world. This becomes your superpower. When the world gets too loud, too demanding, too overwhelming, you know how to retreat into this sanctuary and find your center again. Think about the times in your life when you've made decisions you later regret it. Often, these decisions were made under the influence of external pressures, other people's opinions, or the fear of being alone. But when you develop a healthy relationship with solitude, you create the space to hear your own wisdom. Your decisions become more aligned with your true self, your authentic values. As we move forward in this exploration, I want you to remember something crucial. This journey isn't about forcing yourself into isolation. It's about developing a friendly, nurturing relationship with solitude. It's about discovering that being alone doesn't mean being lonely. It means being complete in yourself. What would your life look like if you were completely comfortable being alone? How would your relationships change if you never acted from a place of fear of solitude? How would your choices be different if you truly enjoyed your own company? These aren't just rhetorical questions. They're invitations to imagine a new way of being. Now that we've laid the foundation for understanding the importance of solitude, let's explore how to practically transform our relationship with being alone. This is where the rubber meets the road, where insight turns into action, where understanding becomes experience. The first thing to recognize is that transforming your relationship with solitude is like developing any other skill. It requires practice, patience, and most importantly, compassion for yourself. You wouldn't expect to sit down at a piano for the first time and play a concerto perfectly. Similarly, don't expect to immediately feel blissful in solitude if you've spent years avoiding it. Let me share something powerful with you. The most profound shifts in life often begin with a single, small change in perspective. Instead of asking, how can I avoid being alone? Start asking, what gifts might solitude be offering? The simple shift in questioning changes everything. It transforms solitude from something we endure into something we explore. Think about the ocean for a moment. On the surface, waves crash and swirl, but deep beneath, there's profound stillness. Your mind is similar. The surface might be choppy with thoughts, worries, and distractions, but underneath there's a deep stillness waiting to be discovered. Solitude is your invitation to dive beneath the surface. One of the most beautiful aspects of embracing solitude is discovering that you're never really alone. When you quiet the external noise, you begin to sense a deeper connection to yourself, to life, to the present moment. This isn't mystical thinking. It's a direct experience that becomes available when we stop running from ourselves. In our culture, we often confuse being alone with being lonely. But loneliness is not the absence of people. It's the absence of connection, including connection with ourselves. You can feel deeply lonely in a crowded room and profoundly connected while being completely alone. Understanding this distinction is crucial for transforming our relationship with solitude. Let's talk about practical steps. Start with what I call micro moments of solitude. These are brief periods, perhaps just 5 or 10 minutes, where you intentionally choose to be alone and present. No phone, no TV, no distractions. Just you being present with yourself. These moments might feel uncomfortable at first, and that's perfectly normal. During these micro moments, practice simply observing your thoughts without trying to change them. Watch them float by like clouds in the sky. Notice how your mind might resist this practice, how it might try to convince you that you should be doing something else, something more productive. This resistance is normal. It's part of the process. As you become more comfortable with these micro moments, gradually extend them. Maybe 5 minutes becomes 15, 15 becomes 30. But remember, this isn't a race. The goal isn't to spend hours in isolation. The goal is to develop a friendly, nurturing relationship with solitude. One powerful practice is what I call the morning sanctuary. Before you check your phone, before you engage with the world, give yourself even just 10 minutes of quiet solitude. Sit with your morning coffee or tea, watch the sunrise, or simply breathe quietly. This simple practice can transform your entire day. Every great spiritual tradition, every profound philosophy emphasizes the importance of solitude and silence, not because they're against connection or community, but because they understand that true connection with ourselves and others emerges from a place of inner stillness. When you begin to embrace solitude, you might notice something fascinating. Your creativity begins to flourish. Ideas flow more freely. Solutions to problems emerge spontaneously. This isn't coincidence. It's what happens when we give our minds the space to process, to integrate, to create. One of the most powerful aspects of embracing solitude is that it helps you distinguish between your own thoughts and the thoughts you've absorbed from others. In silence, you begin to recognize which values are truly yours and which ones you've inherited without questioning. This clarity is invaluable for living an authentic life. Think about the times when you've had your most profound insights. Chances are they didn't come while you were scrolling through social media or watching TV. They came in moments of quiet reflection, in the spaces between activities, in those precious moments of solitude. As you develop your relationship with solitude, you'll notice that your fear of missing out, FOMO, begins to transform into something I call JOMO, the joy of missing out. You'll start to appreciate and even look forward to those moments when you can step away from the world's constant demands and simply be with yourself. This journey also transforms how you relate to silence. In our noisy world, silence can feel uncomfortable, even threatening. But as you practice being alone, you'll discover that silence is not empty. It's full of subtle textures, insights, and revelations. It becomes a source of renewal rather than something to fear. One crucial aspect of this journey is learning to distinguish between productive solitude and escapist isolation. Productive solitude refreshes you, connects you more deeply with yourself and ultimately with others. Escapist isolation, on the other hand, comes from a place of fear and withdrawal. Learn to recognize the difference. In solitude, you'll begin to notice the difference between your authentic self and the social mask you wear. This isn't about judging those masks. They serve a purpose. But in solitude, you can let them fall away and simply be who you are without the need to perform or please others. As your comfort with solitude grows, you'll find that your relationships become more authentic. When you no longer need others to fill an inner void, you can choose relationships from a place of wholeness rather than need. Your connections become more genuine, more nurturing, more real. Every moment of chosen solitude is an investment in your relationship with yourself. Each time you choose to sit quietly, to be present with yourself, to resist the urge to fill the silence with noise, you're strengthening this most fundamental relationship. The practice of solitude also develops what I call emotional independence, the ability to process and navigate your emotions without constantly needing external validation or support. This doesn't mean you never seek help or connection, but rather that you develop the capacity to be with your emotional experiences in a healthy way. As we continue our journey into understanding the transformative power of solitude, let's explore how this practice ripples out into every aspect of our life. What we're discovering together isn't just about being comfortable alone, it's about fundamentally transforming how we experience life itself. One of the most remarkable paradoxes of embracing solitude is how it enhances our capacity for meaningful connection. When you develop a rich inner life, you bring more to every relationship. You're no longer seeking others to complete you. Instead, you're sharing from your completeness. Think about this. Have you ever noticed how the most genuinely confident people you know are often those who are completely comfortable being alone? This isn't coincidence. When you develop a strong relationship with yourself, you naturally exude a quiet confidence that doesn't need constant external validation. The quality of your solitude directly influences the quality of your presence with others. When you're comfortable in silence, you become a better listener. When you're at peace with yourself, you become more patient with others. When you face your own inner shadows, you become more compassionate toward others' struggles. In solitude, we develop what I call inner abundance. This is the deep knowing that you are enough, that you have enough, that life is enough exactly as it is. From this place of inner abundance, you stop approaching relationships from a place of need and start approaching them from a place of sharing. Consider how this transforms your daily interactions. When you're no longer afraid of being alone, you make choices from a place of authentic desire rather than fear. You say yes because you truly want to, not because you're afraid of missing. You say no when something doesn't align with your values without fear of temporary solitude. This journey also transforms how you experience time. In our rushed world, we often treat time alone as dead time, something to be filled, consumed, or killed. But when you embrace solitude, you discover that these moments are actually the most alive, the most rich with possibility. One of the most beautiful aspects of this transformation is how it affects your creativity and problem-solving abilities. In solitude, your mind naturally enters what scientists call the default mode, a state where your brain makes new connections, processes experiences, and generates insights. This is why so many breakthroughs come during moments of quiet reflection. Think about how often we rob ourselves of this natural wisdom by constantly filling every moment with noise and distraction. Every time you reach for your phone out of habit, every time you turn on the TV just for background noise, you're missing an opportunity for this natural process to occur. The practice of solitude also develops what I call emotional resilience. When you're comfortable being alone with your thoughts and feelings, you become less reactive to life's challenges. You develop the capacity to respond rather than react, to choose rather than be driven by impulse. Every emotion you experience is like a visitor knocking at your door. In solitude, you learn to be a gracious host to all these visitors, the pleasant ones and the challenging ones. You develop the capacity to sit with discomfort without immediately trying to escape it or numb it. This ability to be with your emotions transforms how you handle life's inevitable challenges. Instead of being overwhelmed by difficult feelings, you learn to view them with curiosity and compassion. You develop what I call emotional literacy, the ability to read and understand your own emotional landscape. Let's talk about how this journey affects your decision-making. When you're comfortable in solitude, you naturally become better at making choices that align with your authentic self. You're less likely to be swayed by others' opinions or societal pressures because you've developed a strong connection to your inner wisdom. Think about the major decisions in your life. Career choices, relationships, life changes. How many of these decisions were made from a place of clarity versus a place of fear or external pressure? When you cultivate a healthy relationship with solitude, you create the space for genuine clarity to emerge. This clarity extends beyond major life decisions into everyday moments. You become more aware of what truly nourishes you versus what merely distracts you. You start choosing activities and relationships that align with your authentic self rather than those that simply fill time or meet others' expectations. One of the most powerful shifts that occurs is in how you view time alone. Instead of seeing it as something to endure until the next interaction, you begin to see it as sacred space. Time for renewal, reflection, and reconnection with yourself. The shift in perspective changes everything. Consider how this might transform your evenings alone, your weekends without plans, your quiet moments between activities. Instead of feeling like these times need to be filled, you begin to appreciate them as opportunities for deep renewal and self. The practice of solitude also develops what I call attention mastery. In a world designed to fragment our attention, the ability to be present with ourselves becomes a superpower. This focused attention then extends to everything we do, making us more effective and present in all areas of life. Think about how this impacts your productivity and creativity. When you're comfortable with silence and solitude, you can work deeply without constant interruption. You can stay with challenging tasks longer. You can push through the discomfort that often precedes breakthrough insights. This journey also transforms how you approach relationships. Instead of seeking others to escape yourself, you begin seeking connections that enhance your life and contribute to your growth. Your relationships become choices rather than necessities, expressions of freedom rather than manifestations of fear. Consider the difference between a relationship chosen from wholeness versus one chosen from fear of being alone. The quality of connection, the depth of intimacy, the potential for growth. All of these are profoundly different when we come to relationships from a place of self-containment rather than need. As you develop this healthy relationship with solitude, you'll notice that your boundaries naturally become clearer and stronger. You'll find it easier to say no to what doesn't serve you, easier to maintain your center in challenging situations, easier to stay true to yourself in the face of pressure to conform. As we approach the culmination of our journey together, let's reflect on the profound truth we've been exploring. The ability to find joy in solitude isn't just a skill. It's one of life's greatest gifts to yourself. It's the foundation upon which all other aspects of a fulfilling life are built. Remember where we started, with that moment of walking into an empty room and feeling that flutter of anxiety, that urge to fill the silence. Now imagine walking into that same room and feeling a sense of welcome, a feeling of coming home to yourself. This transformation is not just possible, it's natural when we understand the truth. Let me share something powerful with you. Every moment of chosen solitude is a vote of confidence in yourself. Every time you choose to sit quietly with your thoughts instead of reaching for distraction, you're saying to yourself, I trust you, I value you, I choose you. These small moments of choice build upon each other, creating a foundation of unshakable self-trust. Think about a garden for a moment. The most beautiful gardens have both spaces of vibrant growth and quiet paths for contemplation. Your life can be like this too, rich with connections and activities, but also containing sacred spaces of solitude where you can reconnect with yourself. The journey we've been exploring isn't just about being comfortable alone. It's about discovering that you are enough, exactly as you are. It's about realizing that the peace you seek isn't found in the constant stimulation of the external world, but in the quiet center of your own being. Everything you've ever looked for in the outside world. Peace, joy, fulfillment, love. All of these are available within you when you learn to access them in solitude. This doesn't mean you stop engaging with the world. It means you engage from a place of fullness rather than need. As you continue this journey, remember that every great soul throughout history understood the power of solitude. The greatest insights, the most profound revelations, the deepest understanding, these don't come from constant activity and noise. They emerge from the silence, from those moments when we dare to be alone with ourselves. Think about water again for a moment. When water is agitated, it becomes cloudy and unclear, but when it's allowed to be still, it naturally becomes clear, reflecting the sky above and revealing the depths below. Your mind works the same way. In solitude, it naturally settles into clarity, revealing insights and understanding that were always there, just waiting to be discovered. This journey of embracing solitude is really a journey of coming home to yourself. It's about discovering that the peace you seek isn't found in accumulating more experiences, more connections, more activities. It's found in allowing yourself to fully inhabit the present moment, whether alone or with others. As you develop this relationship with solitude, you'll find that you no longer need to choose between being alone and being connected. Instead, you learn to carry your sense of wholeness with you everywhere, whether in solitude or in company. The practice of solitude develops what I call inner sovereignty, the ability to maintain your center, regardless of external circumstances. This doesn't mean you become immune to life's challenges or emotions, but rather that you develop the capacity to meet them from a place of inner stability. Think about how this might transform your life. Imagine approaching each day not from a place of need or fear, but from a place of wholeness and choice. Imagine knowing deep in your bones that you are complete in yourself, that this journey also transforms how you experience time. Instead of seeing time alone as empty space that needs to be filled, you begin to see it as fertile ground where new possibilities can emerge. Your moments of solitude become opportunities for renewal, inspiration, and deep connection with yourself. Consider the freedom this brings. When you're no longer afraid of being alone, you're free to make choices based on what truly matters to you. You're free to say no to what doesn't serve you. You're free to take the time you need to make important decisions. You're free to live life on your own terms. The journey of embracing solitude also develops what I call emotional intelligence. When you're comfortable being alone with your feelings, you become better at understanding and processing them. This naturally leads to better relationships, clearer communication, and more authentic connections with others. Remember this? The quality of your life is directly related to your ability to be at peace with yourself. When you develop this peace through your relationship with solitude, everything else in life becomes more rich, more meaningful, more alive. As we conclude our time together, I want to leave you with this thought. The journey of embracing solitude is really the journey of embracing yourself fully. It's about discovering that you are not just enough. You are abundance itself. You are not just worthy of your own company. You are the very companion you've been seeking. The path forward is both simple and profound. Start with those micro moments of solitude we discussed. Gradually extend them. Learn to sit with your thoughts without needing to change them. Learn to be with your emotions without needing to. Learn to be present with yourself without needing to be different. Remember that this journey isn't about reaching a destination. It's about developing a new way of being. Each moment of chosen solitude is a step on this path. Each time you choose to be present with yourself instead of running to distraction, you're growing stronger in this practice. The world needs people who have developed this relationship with solitude. It needs people who are centered enough to stay calm in chaos, whole enough to offer real connection, and clear enough to see truth in confusion. By developing your relationship with solitude, you become one of these people. As you leave here today, carry with you this understanding. The joy of solitude isn't found in escaping the world. It's found in discovering your own completeness within it. It's found in those quiet moments when you realize that being alone isn't a state to endure, but a gift to cherish. You have everything you need for this journey already within you. The peace you seek, the joy you desire, the love you long for, all of these are available in the sacred space of solitude. Trust this truth. Live this understanding. Let it transform your life as it has transformed so many others. May you find the courage to embrace solitude, the wisdom to learn from it, and the joy of discovering that you are and have always been This is not the end of a journey, but the beginning of a new way of being, one where solitude becomes not your enemy, but your most trusted friend and teacher.